What's going on, everybody? We're out here in the garage this morning. I decided today is the day I'm going to start tearing into this little three-wheeler. My friend Julie, she was so kind to give me this thing. And yeah, what better way than to tear it apart on the channel and put it back together on the channel. So here we go. We got a 1983 Honda ATC 110. I got the plastics right there. Basically, this thing's pretty mint, with the exception of it doesn't have the correct pull starter. So this pull starter here is not the correct one. It's actually been kind of modified to fit. So you can see this little gap in there. I don't really care to deal with this thing, with this engine anyways. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take it all out. I'm gonna take it all out. We're gonna use a stock exhaust, stock carburetor. I have a replica carburetor in case if we need to change it out, but I want to hook up the stock air box and all of that stuff and just get this thing kind of back to the way it was, and just make it fun, make it rideable, make it enjoyable. That way we can take it out to Rednecks with Paychecks and have a lot of fun with it and make a lot of fun videos. So yeah, stay tuned. This should be a good one. I'm gonna get these lights. These lights actually work. I already tested them all. They all work. So we'll get all those things wired up and everything. It'll be a lot of fun. First things first, I'm gonna get these bolts out. Get this gas tank pulled off of here. So this tank was bought after the fact. I think she said she bought this thing off of eBay, but you can tell it's been coated. We'll also have to make a new O-ring for this thing because this thing's all chewed up. I don't know. It might work. We'll see. All right, so we got this bad boy off of here. I'm gonna try and get these dry rotted fuel lines off. Make our life a little easier. And then we can go ahead and look at this. What is that? I don't understand what these are for. That's weird. All right, well, I got Ashley running to Walmart right now. She's gonna go get me some BBs because I gotta clean this damn tank out, man. There's just too much crap and gunk and stuff going on in there. So, got that going on. And throw this away. Get some of that gunk out of that tank. Once we get that cleaned out, I'll feel a lot better. But check this bad boy out. So, this is the 1983 110 setup. Now, if you look down here, you'll notice things look a little bit different. This thing actually has a high and a low transfer. I don't know how this whole mechanism back here works, but I'm gonna have to take some stuff apart in order to figure out how this engine even mounts back here. I do know that on this side, it's got the normal mounting bolt, so I'm sure there's something underneath this cover here that I'm not seeing, but once I get that stuff off, we'll get to it. I'm gonna pull the air box off, I think, now. Pull this intake tube. See how nice this looks? This is why we're keeping the stock carburetor and stuff on here, guys, is because this right here, stock carburetor, right? Stock intake tube, stock air box. So now I can use the stock air filters and stuff like this. But also this intake tube for this box comes all the way up through the frame and is like up here somewhere. So we're gonna get all that stuff pulled out, get this whole frame cleaned up, and get her ready to go back in. I'm excited. All right, so somebody definitely jerry-rigged this bad boy on here. So now we can pull that away. Man, that just like all came off. Damn, choke isn't even working. Slide still works, which is good because I actually considered just taking the slide all the way out. I've actually started using these little disposable solo bowls, man, to just kind of keep track of my parts and my pieces and stuff. They work pretty good. And they're disposable. You just throw them away when you're done. All right, so this air box, really glad we got this piece. First things first, we're gonna pull this cover off here. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. This thing was built for bogging. Built for bogging. All right, so that pops off just like that. Here's the underside. There's actually a seal in there still, so we're all good there. Take that off. Then that that pops out just like this. Okay, I got a 10mm bolt down here I gotta take out. Oh, we got another one back there. Don't forget that one on the back there. So the airbox should pop right out, just like that. Nice. All right, you're probably wondering, why the hell is the 3-wheeler sitting on its side? Well, I'll tell you. I went ahead and I pulled off this chain guard. Right? The chain guard got pulled off. Haven't pulled off the tire yet because I'm weird like that and I just do things out of order. But we got this chain tensioner here. Not 100% sure. Oh, there we go. Tightener's right there. That's simple. I guess I'll put it back down. All right, so as you can see, there's a little tensioner right here. Just come in here and break that sucker loose. Bam. That adjuster should go down. And if you look at it from over here, see that chain adjuster go up and down? Bam. Now we can take the chain off. All right, I got this thing back up in the air because I got to take the foot pegs off. And in order to do that, you got to take the exhaust off. And I planned on doing that anyways because thing's kind of ugly. We're going to try and make it look a little prettier. I got to get the skid plate pulled off, a couple 10mm bolts, and then we'll be back in action. All right, so I got this exhaust unbolted. I think it just slides out here. I undid the skid plate. Let me see if I can't snake this thing out of here. Let me see if I can get it. Lay this back down. Okay. I feel like this bolt might actually be the bolt that takes off this exhaust. So there's a bolt here. Let me show you. There's a bolt that runs all the way through this frame here. At least I'm pretty certain it goes all the way through the frame. There's a long bolt in here though. And once I take this long bolt out, I'm fairly certain that it's exactly right, because that exhaust straight up just fell down. All right, so we'll pull this thing back up here. Get you guys back in action. There she is. Dude, that exhaust is clean, dude. Clean. All right, so now we can get at our pegs. We can get our pegs off, and then we can go ahead and start pulling the engine off. We don't have to take the brakes off or anything like that. We're gonna leave all that stuff because it all works fine. But for right now, we're gonna get this thing laid back down on the floor because I've got lunch to go to. I'm gonna go have pizza with my buddy Stein. So. We're doing good. We're doing good. All right. So we're on to our next plan of attack. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that front bolt and then remove that little plate there. And then I'm going to go ahead and try and get this whole engine just pulled out of here. Ran into my first big hiccup. The mounting pattern for this 110 engine, not the same as this one. So I'm gonna have the same kind of issue like I had with my little TRX 70s with the fuel injected setup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get kind of these little attachments here that I don't need in the way, out of my way. And we're gonna see if we can't make some accommodations to get this thing where it needs to be. I'm gonna have to drop the engine down a little bit because that bracket is way too high for this 140. I'm also gonna have to make some adaptations to the exhaust in order to make this work. But we're gonna see what we can do. We can see if we can't make it happen. All right, as much as I don't want to do this, I'm just gonna start cutting into the frame. I'm gonna get this bottom mount on first, and then we'll see where we're at. Because none of this stuff's gonna line up, but we can try and get the bottom mount on first. If we can get that in there, then I can make adjustments to the top mount and then get my engine kind of where I need it to be, you know, side to side, up and down. That way it's sitting flat. I don't want it sitting like, you know, messed up to where the oil's not gonna go where it needs to. But we're making progress. We'll get this shit cut out and see if we can't get this bottom mount in there. So. All right, guys. Well, I've been cutting away a little bit at a time and just kind of making my way back. Try and get this bottom mount done. I've had to cut these little ears in. I had to bend this down. We're making progress though. We're getting closer. Once I can get this bottom piece in, then I'm gonna get the level of the motor where I need it, try to line up the exhaust as best I can, and then I will create some ears here that will have the correct mounting points for the front of the engine. So we're getting there. Do a little more cutting, see if we can't get this engine put up in here. All right, well, our part's done. We got that back engine mount in, and it's actually using the stock lower mount. So now what we'll do is I'll come in here and I will tip this up and get it where I want it, and then we'll go from there. But now I can use a ratchet strap to kind of like get it up into place. Boy, I'm out of breath. And then I can clean all this stuff up, make it look nice. That's better. That's better. I'm excited, especially considering that this thing like wasn't gonna bolt in when we first got it. I'm a little more optimistic now. Still a little worried about the exhaust and how it's gonna fit, but we're gonna try our best to make it work. The problem that I'm having is that this flange here is too wide for this 140. It's a different size. So I'm gonna take and try and shave this down and make it a little smaller diameter, or I actually might even weld an extension onto it to make it work. I got a few ideas, but we'll see what works here. All right, so I got a couple spots in here we're gonna trim back. Pretty dang close. Just gotta make sure that the bottom of this engine is level. That's the biggest thing. So right here, use this as a reference point. Once that's level, then we can pretty much just go ahead and get our foot pegs adapted. We gotta make sure that this exhaust fits. That's the biggest thing. All right, guys. I don't know where we're at on this video. It's been a couple weeks, but finally got back onto the old three-wheeler. And yeah, so I took the socket, welded the socket onto the end of the exhaust. I know it looks like crap, but you'll get over it. Now we gotta do is make that piece go into there. So I'm gonna have to bend this pipe a little bit. And I'm no foreigner to that. We did that before on the 190 and on the TRX 70. So we're just gonna make this fit. This exhaust is mounted up in place where it needs to be. So that's a good thing. I got a little bit of wiggle room here. We're gonna put a couple little bends in here, see if we can't get it to mount up to this head. And once we get this exhaust mounted up, then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish up these mounts here. I have a plate here for the front of this thing. Hopefully this thing's not too hot anymore. All right, sweet. So basically I just made myself a little bracket plate. I'm gonna drill some holes. It's gonna bolt right over top of this plate. I'm gonna have some washers set in between there. I'll drill a hole right there. We'll mount that up there. And then I'll be able to put on the carburetor and the chain and the foot pegs. And the list goes on and on. So, hope everybody's doing good. This is a next video that's taken me a couple weeks to make. kind of been in a funk lately. Haven't really been myself. Haven't been posting on the page. Haven't been doing a lot of things. So trying to get back into the flow of stuff, you know. All right, guys. So skipping forward a few more days. I came out here and I decided to go ahead and build this little head mount. So basically I just got some washers stacked underneath it. This mount wasn't perfectly straight, but you know, we just offset some stuff with some washers, drilled some holes, and I think that'll do the job. So we're gonna go ahead and leave that the way it is. I've got the exhaust finished. It's on there. Now what I have to do is I have to make myself some plates that will allow me to mount this top part. I gotta weld some stuff, but I think we'll be able to get it handled. Once we get that taken care of, then we can go ahead and move on to doing the battery box, doing the carburetor, getting all that lined up with the air box, get the chain on, and we gotta put the foot pegs on. Cannot forget the foot pegs, so. All right, guys, what's going on? It's been a couple days, again, since the last clip. So, got these mounts here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these things down a little bit, make them fit on there a little better, and then that way we got something clean to weld to. Good to go. Cleaned all the metal up right there, so that way we got something nice to weld to, and not too much longer. All right, so we're over here. We got these things cut out. And basically, that is gonna sit in there like so. I will weld it in place. And this one is gonna sit just like so. Perfect. And since the engine's already where it needs to be, because I made this bracket and I made my exhaust fit, everything else is on where it needs to be. The rear mount is in place. I just need to go ahead and run a bolt through here, line everything up, put it where I like it, and then just start welding. Pretty easy stuff. All right, so here's what I got. I ended up switching to the stock intake manifold, cut that bad boy in half, and then took an old grip that I had, use it as a connection. I might put a different tube on there, but for now, this is what I got. And I'm trying to get this thing mocked up here to where the carburetor and the intake manifold and everything matches up like it's supposed to, as if it was stock configuration, you know what I'm saying? So we're just kind of putting everything in its place right now. Once we get that situated, then I can go ahead and, you know, put that bad boy in there. Well, it's not the most ideal, but I think it'll work. Everything's in there pretty tight. You guys, I skipped ahead a little bit. All right, so what we've got done so far, we got the pegs on. They're about as centered as I can make them. They're pretty perfect. I like them. I might extend this foot brake, make it like an old man foot brake, because I really wish this was like more like, I don't know. I might make this foot peg a little bit bigger and make it come out underneath my foot a little more. But for right now, it all works great. Right now, I'm taking this little bit of angle iron or angled material, whatever this stuff is called, and I'm going to build myself a battery box. So let's get it. Don't mind the air compressor. Get a hammer to finish out that bend, but that's essentially what we're going for there. Just making ourselves a little basket for this thing. I'm close. I gotta finish this. I just need my other hand. All right, guys. So, moment of truth. I had a couple screw ups here before we started this thing the first time, I had the battery turned in here backwards. Ended up hooking up the battery backwards, so of course nothing happened. And then when I went to go hook it up correctly, once again, nothing happened. So it ended up being the fact that when I hooked it up backwards the first time, I blew the fuse in the thing. So now we got a little fuse shoved in there for just testing purposes. I gotta hook up my little key here. We've got our safety switch, which is our brake switch. We just went ahead and bypassed that. I just threw a little fuse in there. I'll probably cut that down and then turn this on. Simple as that. So yeah, now we got power to our starter. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have spark and all that jazz. Now we just got to get our fuel tank put on here, get some gas put in it, and see if she fires up. All right, y'all, what's going on? So this morning we are doing tank prep. We're getting this ATC 110 tank ready. I got me some fuel clean or tank clean or whatever the hell it's called. So basically what we're doing right now is a chemical process. Basically take the rust out of this thing and etch the metal. And then we're gonna put a fuel liner in it. So this thing actually already had a liner before, but it was done really, really bad. And so we put a bunch of bolts and stuff in there, shook it all up, got a bunch of that stuff off there, knocked it down. And so now we're gonna redo the process and get it good to go. Because my ATC 110, she can't be having no damn fuel leaks, you know what I'm saying? Now the next thing we gotta do on this thing is we have to finish up the wiring. I have to wait for some heat shrink. Once the heat shrink gets here, I'll be able to extend my key. So right now, this is pretty sweet, guys. So this pad actually goes up here on the handlebars. I'm gonna make this bad boy work with the key on it. So there's the key right there. I freaking put some JB weld on the back to make sure it stays in place. So yeah, we got that, but now we have to extend these wires, right? So basically we got this plug here, which plugs into the harness. We're gonna make this thing about this long, you know what I mean? Got these white wires here we're gonna plug in, but yeah. Waiting on some heat shrink right now. Once I get that, I can splice these wires together, get this ignition set up. Then all we have to do after that is wire up the lights. So what I'm gonna do with the lights is, the guys over at Bart Moto were pretty cool. They wired in a simple light circuit for us, which is right here. Now, these wires, not gonna put out a lot of power. For a small LED light, that'd be sweet, okay? So what we're gonna do in order to get power to this big headlight and this old school tail light is we're gonna use this to run a relay. And basically, that red and that black are gonna hook up right here. This is your relay. This is the plug that goes into the bottom, and boom, snap that together like this. So this is your relay. Now, there is normally a yellow wire right there in the middle. If you look closely, you can see the hole there, but I pull that terminal out. So the way that this works is the red and black over there on the harness is gonna hook up to this white and black. Your power from your battery is gonna come into your red. And then once you engage this relay, your power is going to come out of the blue. So basically this blue will go to all your positives on your lights. Your blacks will go to ground. This red will go to your battery. And this white and black will go to your red and black off of your light circuit. Pretty simple stuff. What this is gonna allow me to do is it's gonna allow those little tiny wires to control this big relay to allow me to send big power through these big wires to them big lights without frying anything, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we're gonna do. We'll get that wired in there. Once we get some heat shrink and I can finish this stuff up. So got all this stuff done, got my little fuse put back in there. I'm gonna put that relay somewhere like right here. And then, you know, my wiring is pretty small. There's not a whole lot there, just a couple things. And then when the fender gets put back on here, it'll hide all that stuff so you won't even see it. And then this right here, I'm just gonna tape this up and tuck that away. And then we'll get that switch and the new handlebars mounted. So right now I'm extending the harness. Got a little soldering action going on. Back to the old military days. Ashley showing up with Meemaw. They went to go get the kids McDonald's. All right, so we're gonna extend this bad boy so that way it reaches from the front all the way back to the harness, because what it came with was relatively short, not long enough. All right, I'm gonna do my best to show you what I'm doing here. So you just take the 2-inch, twist them together, right? And then basically what we're gonna do, so we got this end open, so we'll put our heat shrink on from that end. And then I just keep it simple, man. Like I got a little torch here. I've done this with a soldering iron. I've done this like numerous different ways I just think this is the fastest and like most basic, simple way to do it. Turn that down because it don't need to be super high. Don't burn your insulation off on your wire. Just drag that solder right over that little, where the wires are exposed. And once it heats up, that solder is just gonna suck right up in there. And then you end up with this. There we go. So I could have put a little more solder on it, but that ain't going nowhere. Just take yourself some heat shrink. Slide that bad boy right over there. Make sure this isn't warm when you do this, because sometimes you'll screw yourself up. And you know, if this other end of this wire was connected, you'd have had to put the insulation on before you made your connection, right? Well, if you have this hot and you slide this heat shrink over it, it's gonna start shrinking and you might not get it all the way across. So take yourself a lighter. Simple as that. And then all I gotta do is just keep going through the harness, and then this bad boy's extended. Let's get it. Just like that. Now we're done. I just wrapped it in electrical tape. Now we gotta take this, put it on that bad boy, and then we're gonna work on our light circuit. Then we can start working on the fuel tank, because the fuel tank is actually sitting outside right now. It's been sitting overnight since yesterday, going through its little oxidation process to neutralize the rust that's inside of it. And then we're gonna put a liner on it and do all that stuff. Get this thing fired up. If you guys are wondering why this video seems like it's like I'm wearing different clothes all the damn time, it's actually been probably over a week now since the last clip that you just saw. I've already gone on vacation. Me and my wife went on our 11th wedding anniversary to Maine and did a whole bunch of cool stuff. So I'm back here doing this lighting circuit. Basically, I already figured out how to run the backlight, figured out how to run the front light. So just getting the wiring situated for that stuff. I've already got the relay wired in there. We're good to go. So just doing the final touches, and then we'll get to starting this thing. All right, guys, I'm pretty happy with it. I just went ahead and wired this thing to the light circuit that basically, as soon as you key it on, it just flips it on. So no switch on this bad boy, but as soon as you turn on the light switch, boom, we got a headlight, we got a tail light. Safety first, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we got the wiring pretty much tucked back in here how we want it. Might zip tie that up there. Might zip tie these up just a little bit just to tie them up. But other than that, everything is tucked away like it's supposed to. I'm gonna get the gas tank put on this thing, put a little bit of fuel in it. Hopefully there's not a bunch of debris still in that tank, because that thing was giving me a lot of trouble. Hopefully we can make this thing start up today. It's gonna be the first little sip of oil this bad boy's got. These 140s and 190s, they take 0.7 quarts. And that is like 22.4 ounces. So we'll just call it 23. Don't mind me, I'm working on the floor right now. So I'm gonna fill this ratio right up to 18 ounces, because that's as high as it goes. Pour this in there. Oh yeah, how do you like that? So this here is a Rotella T6. It's a 5W40 diesel oil. And then we're gonna go to, man, I need to get some glasses here.
Need me to read that there for you, love?
No. Boom. We're good. Okay, now we're topping it off. This will make 23 ounces. You don't want to overfill these things. They don't take a lot of oil, okay? And overfilling them is not the answer. I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff all cleaned up, and then we'll get the tank put on. All right, y'all. I'm gonna throw fuel in this thing. Now, no promises on this fuel liner, okay? I've already told my wife, if this tank gives me any sort of grief or any sort of trouble, X-nay on the tank nay, you understand? And I'll put a freaking red plastic one on this stupid thing. And you'll just have to live with it. I don't think it'll give me any trouble. If anything, there might be a little bit of debris in the tank.
Okay, start pouring the gas.
Shut up and let me do this! That's all she wrote for that gas. Is there anything spilling on the floor?
It's everywhere. I'm just kidding.
It's a big deal, Ashley. We don't want that spill on the ground.
I already told you. It's fine.
All right. Now, I'm telling you right now, I have not done anything on this thing yet.
I'm aware.
No jetting, no nothing. So, you know, I just want to hear it pop, 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 pop. If it does any of that,
Pow, 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 pow.
Like, at this point, I'm not even willing to open the gay rod yet. The rubber that I used for this gas cap, too thick. Makes it so hard to get the tank on and off. Oh yeah, another thing, come check this out. This gas cap right here. So if you look at it, it says off and on. So what this is basically your vent for your tank. So if you leave this off, this means your fuel is off and it's not gonna allow this tank to vent and it won't allow fuel to go down to the carburetor. You leave this up to where it says on and your machine will run. So yeah, take that. There we go. We're gonna go ahead and put this bad boy on fuel on.
Moment of truth. Hey! Ooh, ooh, ooh. She has life.
That was a Chinese carburetor. Look at that thing. I'm gonna dial this thing in, guys. If we all sit here and pass out.
Okay. It was kind of idling.
That's sweet. I gotta open this garage for a minute though.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I just fired this thing up. At idle, it's idling about 17 AFRs, which is super lean. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw a bigger idle jet in this thing, see if we can't get that richened up a little bit. Once we get the idle situation handled, then we'll go ahead and work on cruising it up and down the street and seeing how she does under a load. So we'll get it. Right now, I just got to get this carburetor pulled off and get the correct idle jet into it. All right, guys. So right now, I got a 42 idle jet in there, and you can see she's still, well, she's running a little rich now. So yeah, I think once we get the right idle jet in there, should be perfect. I'm gonna drop down to a 40 and then we'll go from there. She seems to be revving pretty good. She might need a one richer main jet, but I'm not too displeased with that. Listen to that thing just pitter patter. All right, so I put a 40 idle jet in this thing, and let me tell you. Dude. Tomorrow, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this thing outside, cruise it up and down the street a little bit, gonna see how it acts under a load, and then we'll get the main jet situation handled, and we'll make sure once it's nice and warm that idle jet is where it needs to be. But I'll tell you one thing, it sure is nice being able to turn the key on and that sucker just fires up and purrs like that. So shout out to the guys over at Bart Moto Co. That little 140, man, fired right up. It did perfect. The carburetor is a stock ATC 110 carburetor. It's a replica from Amazon. It was like $16 or something like that. I actually took the stock slide and needle out of the stock carburetor that was on this thing. This is it right here. It was not in super bad shape, but I just wanted to use something nice and clean, something fresh. And yeah, as you can see, it works just right. As long as you use your O2 gauge and get her dialed in, it takes all the guesswork out of it. So I like doing it that way. Not everybody else does, but you know, to hell with them. So let's get to finishing this thing up. We'll flash forward to getting this thing out on the road and cruising it around. All right, guys, top of the morning to you. So I got this thing out here started and idling. Right now she's running pretty good. I'm gonna turn this idle up just a little bit. Man, she's still running pretty rich. I might lean it out one more and maybe put a 38 in there. We'll see how it does when it warms up. All right, so I'm gonna look in here and try and find a 38. We're gonna put a 38 in this bad boy. It's running a little bit rich still. Want to get that dialed in before we go any farther. And yeah, so let's do that.
Wheelie time?
No, not wheelie time. I just want to see how it does.
Test her out.
When I ride it around.
You got a test for the 3-wheeler?
I think I'm ready. Can you push me into the driveway? Push me back.
Push you? Alright. There you go.
I got no brakes.
Do you really not? Yes, you do. You liar.
All right, guys. Well, here she is, the 1983 ATC 110. Shout out to Julie Woody for giving me this machine. She straight up messaged me one day and said, hey, do you want an ATC 110? And I said, to be honest, I'm not really into three-wheelers. She's like, but it's a gift. Well, in that case. And then here we go. So I went to Hutto, Texas, and picked this thing up from Julie. It was stock. The only problem that it had was it was missing the pull start. It had the pull start assembly was messed up, so somebody had tried to replace it and adapt another one, and that didn't work, and I just didn't care to mess with it. So we outfitted this thing with a YX 140. This is from Bart Moto Co. Shout out to Matt. He really kind of hooked me up on getting me a nice little plug and play engine set up. If you look, man, this thing's still got the, I can't get these little paw prints off of here, but I think it's funny. This thing's got lots of character. You can see all the stitch work that we did to it. And yeah, I just got her all tuned up. I think she's good to go. Ready for a Rednecks with Paychecks. Sweet, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it was so long. If it was and you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if it was, you know, cool. Let me know in the comments, whatever, guys. I appreciate you. We'll holler at y'all later. This thing is so freaking sweet, man, dude. Just look at that exhaust. It just comes out right in the middle. Thing is freaking bad.